Brian, I have been following you on Instagram for a while now, and I feel like my Instagram is your Instagram, just like a drunk Real Housewife, really angry. Brian knows how to talk about politics in a calm, like concise, nice way. So I'm really happy you're here.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
So I am obsessed with politics, and I wanted you here because I want to talk about Biden's domestic agenda, just to give you guys a little catch-up. So after Biden, Congress passed the President's American Rescue Plan. He proposed the American Families Plan and the America's Jobs Plan. Those two plans became the Bipartisan Infrastructure Deal, also known as the BIF, and Build Back Better. So they kept straggling along. In September, the President encouraged the Democrats de-link them past the BIF, which is hard infrastructure, bridges, roads, getting lead out of water, broadband internet, and Build Back Better, which is funding for climate initiatives, universal pre-K, universal child tax credit, which, you know, it's not anymore. Anyway, and then in December, Joe Manchin slit its throat like Catelyn Stark from Game of Thrones. So the point is, where is the bill now? Was it too premature for me to get Build Back Better tattooed on my lower back?
Slightly premature, I would say.
Fuck!
I think the important thing to know is that these are really, really popular pieces of legislation that do a lot of the things that Americans want done. They lower the cost of health care, they invest in child care and family leave, and the BIF that Lukas just mentioned, which passed last year, will revitalize America's infrastructure for generations to come. BBB, Build Back Better plan, is not doing well.
Not doing well.
I would compare it. Yeah, I would compare it to if you've ever tried to raise like a fiddle leaf fig tree in your apartment, and it's starting to lose leaves rapidly, and you're like, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to turn this around, or if this is totally gone. So, yeah, I think that right now the status is it's kind of on ice while we focus on other things in the Senate. Joe Manchin is not being very clear on what he will or will not vote to pass in a future version of it. But I do think that a version will pass.
Right.
It probably will not be called Build Back Better.
We're looking at the Horny for Joe Manchin Act of 2022, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So the President said that it could be passed in parts, and then the Speaker of the House said, we're looking at a new name. What interesting enough, when Joe Manchin has talked about it, he said that the climate initiatives are something actually he could agree upon fast, which is interesting because he's this coal baron, you know, makes millions of dollars from coal. And I was reading an article about it, like, I don't think people quite understand. $550 billion invested in green energy tax initiatives. This is going to not just like wind farms. I was reading something like to make jet fuel for planes less polluted, like and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, the climate provisions are really expansive. It funds kind of a wish list of a lot of initiatives that will address climate change. I don't know that we will see all of those provisions included in a new version, but I do think that climate is a priority for both the administration and the key people who will decide what actually goes into a new version. And so I do expect there to be some really solid climate policy in there. I don't know that it'll be the $550 billion.
And unfortunately, when Joe Manchin killed it, the child tax credit died, and now 40% of children poverty is struck up, right?
Not 40% of all children, but
40% of children
increase.
poverty. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, there was an increase after the refundable child tax credit, which was literally sending checks to struggling families who have children that expired. And so those checks are no longer going out. If I were going to bet on what gets included in a future version, that would not be, I would bet against that.
But universal pre-K, do you think has more of a chance?
I think pre-K does. I think prescription drug pricing does. I think that the climate provisions could definitely be in there.
And the Obamacare subsidies, expanding those maybe?
Definitely, yes. Yeah. ACA, absolutely. I think the big question is how you're going to pay for it.
Right.
Manchin has been very clear that anything that is in there needs to be permanent and totally paid for. And that's a big challenge. Usually that's not how we structure things in DC. You do it for a shorter amount of time. You say we're going to sunset this program after a certain number of years.
Or if it's a defense budget, you throw $800 billion at it a year.
Every year.
End of war, spend money. Okay, so the Build Back Better journey, though, has got me thinking a lot about how Democrats approach politics. And I often go back to, I don't want to relitigate the 2016 Democratic primary. Had all my facial tick to come back.
Me either.
But you kind of had two clear opposing views. You had Hillary Clinton, a progressive who likes to get things done, another one of her sayings, and Bernie Sanders, big, bold, systematically changing policy plans. And, credit to Bernie, he moved the party to the left, moved Biden to the left. So Biden comes in, proposes this huge piece of legislation, but now the only thing people talk about is what's being kicked out. And Democratic voters are disappointed, they hate Biden, they have apathy, and now we're heading to the midterms like Biden hasn't done anything because all these things are getting killed. So is it a mistake to go in so big, so bold?
I don't think so. I think that you have to sell people real vision and get people excited about not just voting, but participating in a process and a system that can be so much better. Mm-hmm. I think I would compare it on the right to the animation that you see in like the alt-right, far-right, people who are doing a lot of things that we don't want them to be doing, but they're doing it with a crazy amount of energy that is sustained for a long period of time. I mean, I think the 18th state right now is considering a bill to push for a constitutional convention, which would literally allow them to theoretically rewrite portions or all of the Constitution. And so these are people who are really committed to big structural change over a long period of time. And so I think that it's a good idea to go big and to sell a big vision, but you have to have the energy and the time frame to back it up. And that's what I'm not seeing, is that people expected a huge wave election, everybody's going to show up, we're going to vote in November, we're going to win big, and then everything's going to change.
Right.
And that's not how our system works.
Yeah, and he only got a Senate that's 50-50 with Kamala Harris breaking that tie-breaking vote. Switching gears a little